a bit of a background to the presentation, or the overview of the presentation. Going to be talking about the 2 courses that I've implemented it in, and what the assessment looks like and what the design looks like. And then going through PebblePad snapshots and the workbooks and the tools to show you what we've developed and how it may be applicable to your courses. I'll be doing a bit of an overview of the pros and cons from my perspective, but then spending a lot more time on the students' opinions. So, as part of our e-portfolios of dietetic graduate employability, it's all about that opinions. So we've done evaluation of that last month about the students' perspectives of using PebblePad in terms of its use and also for in terms of employability. So going through the results and then linking it to, what does that mean for us in terms of how can we improve from that. So one choice to exclude society in the nutrition workforce, it's, as I said before, our really professionalising degree course is the one that we introduce a lot of the career planning and the what does it mean to be a dietitian content. So the assessment's focused on developing the dietetic career professional identity, and it includes a variety of activities, which some of them were already included as part of the program of the course before we moved over to PebblePad, and a few others were actually things that we implemented once we realised the capabilities of PebblePad. So, and I'll be showing you some of these screenshots to give you a bit more of an idea of what that means. So in terms of, we've required them to do Will placement preparation documents, so these students do a 4-hour feeding the community placement. So as part of that, they need their CONNECTPLUS checks, so just a central place to upload those. Did some career planning, so that's a template that we set up which allowed them to speak to sort of reflect and think through different career options and what that means to them. Setting up learning goals and their professional development plan, and their activity log for that was a new activity that we added in with PebblePad, and it was just, it's worked really well. So really this came about because as dietitians we need to do, as many of you would, to maintain our accreditation we need to do learning goals and log 30 hours of CPD a year. But up until recently we weren't really teaching our students that until 4th year post-placement week, just before we were about to launch. So we decided that really that needs to be something that's embedded throughout the program, and it's just worked really well in terms of giving students a little bit more focus on what they're actually doing. And what this does, it encourages students to be strategic with the types of activities that they're doing extra to the curriculum that really focuses on employability as well. So this can include things like mentoring. So as part of our program, we've set up a 1st to 3rd year mentoring program, and that comes as part of the hours. But it can also include mentoring with external people, whether it be a dietitian who's a friend of theirs who they meet up for coffee with, or meeting up with a teacher friend who can talk through communication skills, things like that. And also it allows them to do workshops such as the university or library workshops. Many of them have also done Toastmasters type communication sessions and volunteering activities. So in addition to whatever they're required to do in the course, it has really encouraged them to seek out extra activities, which just looks like on the CV. And of course, they can also do their readings and their webinars and other activities like that, but I do try and encourage those high impact activities. They do a variety of reflections, so these were already, 2 of these were already in the course, but what we did this year is taking it from a 2-page reflection to a structured reflection using the template. So feedback was that the students really liked the structure of it to prompt the first years as to what they're doing. It also made my marking a lot easier because I could sort of focus on each of the boxes. So 2 written reflections, and then the 3rd reflection was a new one with PebblePad. Worked really well. So, we know that students could write, written reflect because they've done that, but we didn't really train them how to verbally reflect, which of course on placement they get there, they need to walk out of a situation and be able to debrief with their supervisor, what went well, what didn't go well. So this is a 2-minute video using PebblePocket. The students pick up their phone. I had to get them to plan it a little bit better, but pick up their phone, record themselves, send it to PebblePocket, send it to PebblePad, and it's done. And it's been a really good way of having that asset there. These students also develop their CV, so again focusing on, yes, you're in year 1, but what do you need to add to it? And focus being all those volunteer activities that we don't want them to get to 40 to realise that they need these things on their CV. The work integrated learning log, so a function of PebblePad is these activity logs that work really well, and we get them to log their work integrated learning hours throughout their degree. The self-efficacy scale is just a general scale that we found that we put into PebblePad template format, and I mean this meets one of our competencies for, or a few of our competencies for our accreditation, but it allows students to sort of track how they're going and just simply putting it into a PebblePad template. So very similar to some of those activities, I then moved that into our communication and counselling course in third year. So the portfolio is 45% and included a lot of those aspects in terms of the learning goals. The portfolio activity log was based on the workshop logs, workshop portfolio we did last year, where students, they turn up to the workshop, they get their worksheet, they fill it out, and it's sort of like marked attendance in a way, but transferring those to PebblePad this year just worked really well because, of course, we could do more diverse things with it, but it really gave students a bit more flexibility than just handwriting everything, and also it allows the students to take that with them. So rather than just a display folder that I hand and get marked and shelve, ideally it brings all that sort of activities together and has allowed me to increase the high impact activities within that. Again, the wheel log and the student learning reflection. And as part of this course, I also used it as a submission point for all the assessments in the course, which bring you all together. So now what I want to do is, the next few slides are some snapshots of the Year 1 workbook before I go into PebblePad and show you the Year 3 one. So I don't want to spend too much time on the background because that's what Alison will be going over in her sessions, but this is what it looks like. And if you, this is the Year 1 workbook again. So the first, it's sort of tabbed along. So first page is the information page. We've got some background information as well as FAQs, links to YouTube clips and things like that. The next page is the wheel placement preparation. So introduction, all the blue underlined parts are the hyperlinks to the templates or extra information. So click on that and it will take you to the wheel placement. As part of that, they have to tick that they can consent or they've done things and upload their blue card and police check. So again, it's a matter of taking a photo of the two documents, uploading that as an asset. So you can see that add an asset box, it's really simple. They put the due date or the expiry date of these, as well as uploading the certificates from all the online modules that we require them to do for. So all in one place, which is great. This is a snapshot of a CPD log. So you can set the target hours or target points depending on your school's convener, and the student just uploads each of the activities. Again, they link the number of hours that it took them to do, and if you click on the blue underlines, you can see that the student then reflects. And this is only about half the page of the report. As part of that, they upload the evidence, whether it's a certificate or confirmation of attendance or whatever it is that best evidences the activity that they did. So as you can see, it's a lot of reflection that sort of happens as part of each of those activities. The next few slides are some of the CVs that students developed. So I'll just scroll through them. So you can have either a single page or a portfolio again. So this student had different tabs with the cover letter, the personal statement about themselves and the employment, the CV type parts. Other students just did the single page again, and there's a bit of variety in how they can present it, but you'll hear later that the students thought that lacked creativity, which I'm happy with. So this has been the third year workbook, and I can come back to those sort of slides in question time if you want more detail. This is the third year learning for site, as you can see, and you can see here that I put in PebblePad on the side. So just creating link, which is single sign-on, which has made so much difference this semester, because the students don't have to log into PebblePad and do that separately with different passwords. And for myself as well, I'll perfectly, if I've got it open, I just click on that and go straight there. So what I'm going to do now is just log into PebblePad because I thought it would be good to see it live as well. So this is again the PebblePad screen. You can see here you've got your resources, back. And most of those are the PebblePad generic ones that are there, and then at the bottom are all the ones that we've developed with the nutrition and dietetics that I've got access to. Whereas, if a student signs in through the third year link, they'll only have access to the workbooks that they've got, that we've given them access to. They've also got their assets, and so that's all the things that they've created along the way, all just listed down the page. So you can see here it could get quite confusing if the students are around for a long time and develop lots of different resources. So these aren't folded, which is one of the key feedback that the students don't like, which highlights the requirement for tagging. So unfortunately, I didn't really understand tagging when I started and didn't sell it to students enough. So a lot of the feedback which you'll see is all around it's not clear instruction, I can't find things. So if you tag well, and the reason for that is because as much as I wanted it in the folder, technically if I do a working trade or learning activity or a placement, yes, it could go in a will folder, but it could also go in the competencies data 1.1.1 and 5.1.3, and it could go into will, and it could go into placement, and it could go into communication. So you could tag it with whichever competencies or graduate attributes or different elements of the course, and hence the benefit of having it first tagged using the search function. Because some students like, I can't remember what I called it, and so then they can't find it very easily. And a note on that while I just think about it, really encouraging students to name things well. Name them with the course or the assessment title and also their name, which doesn't make sense really if it's all their work. But as a marker, you open up all these pages and it can get really confusing if the student's name's nowhere on the page and this is the only place it can really go. A little aside, so back to the resource store and clicking on the Year 3 workbook. And again, it's set up like the Year 1 I just showed you. With your information page, these are some more information and some links down here, and you can set that up however you want. Placement preparation I went through in detail before. Student clinic, so they basically, what we've got here is the instructions and the competencies that this assessment's linked to. But if you click on the template, basically it's like a submission point. So I can start with what I've already worked on or get a new one, the date that they attend, and then it's just a matter of uploading the assessment. So it could be they do a Word document, it could be a photo, it could be a video, and it's all just easily uploaded there. Go back. So again, this is just a working graded learning activity, including photos for not very big, including photo instructions about how to do it, and again the link to where they're uploading their evidence and information. CPD and mentoring, so again, it allows us to have all that information in one place. This year I actually doubled up a bit of information in terms of still putting it on Learning at Griffith, because that's what students are used to, and they kind of needed that. And so it was always at the bottom, please refer to your marking criteria, the assignment outline and marking criteria, so that we could really still follow that. So this is what a template looks like. So you can set templates up however you want, but you can do different sections. This was information that we wanted them to have. The learning goal, so they had to choose which area it applied to. They write their learning goal, and they might come up with some suggestions on how they're going to meet that. So whether it be a workshop, or I'm going to read this book, or I'm going to see this volunteer agency. So you can, again, put as many tabs on there that you want. This is the personal growth template, so information about it, but then also just set up as a rubric that they can get. Unfortunately, this is not like a survey type collation, so students still have to go through and see what it means. And then this is just the assignment submission point that I talked about. So not really a portfolio, but they just click on there, they write the name of the assignment, add the Word document, and add the evidence, which could be a Word document, could be a photo, could be whatever they want. And then they tag it. So coming onto this I button, finding that they can add the hours if that's what they're adding it to, but tagging. And really, what I'm planning to do for next year is giving my students a list of tags, potential tags that may work for them, and they can then choose out what that works together. And then the idea is, which we haven't got to yet with our students, is bringing the collections together. So everything that's tagged with the competency 1.1.1 gets pulled together, so at any point in their degree they can say, how have I met this competency already, and evidence there, already evidence and already reflected upon. So what I'm going to do now is back to the presentation, and we can later. Atlas is the marking area for PebblePad. Again, Alison will go into this in more detail, but the little blue circle is, just click on that and you go through to your marking. So you choose your assessment submission point, and then all the students' names are listed down. You can see which ones you've marked or not, because the mark appears. Click on it, open it up, and as part of that you can then click on the add feedback and then add the rubric. The rubric then opens, which is the rubric that we create, and it's a really easy, very user-friendly way to create rubrics. And what I tend to do is just in my office, I've got one screen with the rubric, one screen with the assignment, and one screen with my web version of the marking criteria, and just copy and paste the relevant comments in. So it's a really easy way to bring that together. So in terms of the pros from the course convener's perspective, I've really found it's fantastic, obviously, with the new age of what we're moving into is an online tool. So all things that the student can then be in control of, rather than submitting an assignment to this person and then coming here and spending time for a year. And you know what students are like, once it's done, you pass the course, you don't tend to go back to things. So, students get control and they can bring that all together. So it allows the easy collation of assessment and just work that they're doing. So whether it's the part-time job or whether it's a little journal, a little article that they wrote for the paper or things like that, and allows them to evidence that competency and be able to use it and hopefully enhance their employability through that. I found it really easy to set up the templates and the rubrics once you kind of have your how-to documents and very easy marking. Activity logs, really easy to be able to collate a lot of evidence and encourages the students to reflect a lot. So pedagogical reflection is very key, and I'm sure that many of you will agree with that. So really getting them to not just do an activity, but to work out why did I do that, what was the benefit of that, what did I learn from it, what's my take-home message, and how am I going to improve in the future. And I'll go into a bit more detail later, but probably did a little bit too many activity logs this semester. So we're converting some of the activity logs, being, students set them up themselves and they add all the activities. I'll be converting some of them to a template format. So instead of each student individually adding their 10 portfolio activities, if I create a template and say this is activity week 1, week 2, week 3, they can just go in and add the evidence that they do and the reflection, and I can pre-tag it so that this activity here is meant to be linked to these competencies, and it can all go through when they open the template. So, a little bit more work on my behalf at the beginning, but will make it much easier for the student and actually get more exactly what I want. And I found the PebblePad team really responsive to issues as well. So hopefully, in the coming year, as the group of staff are getting on board and getting trained up, we'll also, everyone's have a much easier time than I did in terms of having a go-to person to call issues. I'm sure I love that. The cons of it was that it's a new platform, and going along with a new platform, difficult for staff and students to just get used to it, which is, is life, but you have to be aware of it, obviously, and cater to that in terms of the training and in terms of the level of support and instruction that you provide to students. We had a few templates where we had errors in setting them up on rubrics, which sometimes are fixed as, you allocate half a day to mark and come to that day and then realise you've got an error, and if you need the assistance of people overseas, it didn't always work out, but, it's all just part of it, so that has to be considered. Word count limits. So, the traditional system where you allocate 2,000 word essay or whatever, I try to keep that still just for the purpose of not having too much information and encouraging students to be concise. However, there's no word count, so the summary, so I couldn't work out how many words. What I tried to do is make the line limits instead, particularly for the reflections, which I thought was a good idea until students then complained that they lost marks because it looked different on their screen to on my screen or whatever. So I don't know if anything happened there. And of course the no undo function. So in a lot of things online, and again particularly for the reflections or big chunks of text, you either go out and then accidentally delete it and you can't do anything about it. So what I encourage students to do is the big chunks of text, do it in Word, copy and paste it over. So now I'm really going to have to hurry. Is the evaluation of the student perspectives. And so this is part of our Bigger Nudge project, which is about actively encouraging employability. Key aims of EDGE is to improve employability, but we had ethics approval, and it's 3 stages. So the first stage is the online survey, which I'm going to be talking about. Then we're going to follow that up with a focus group and also be able to look at their submissions in PebblePad for more research purposes. So I looked at usability and perceived benefit of employability. We had 50 responses, which was good, but not what I was hoping for, particularly for our Year 1 students. So we don't have any contact with these students except for announcements and emails of those. So I only had 12 of those students complete. Obviously, it was a couple of weeks ago, so busy time of year for student life. So responses were quite low, but then for the 30 responses. Overall, I found PebblePad easy to use, only 52% agreed, which can be taken either way, considering many of these are only used them for 1 semester. But then I guess the good side of things was 70 to 88% of students agreed around the training and the assistance with technical difficulties, which would explain where all my time went in second semester. But that'll be fixed for next semester a bit better. Finding it easy, so you can see with this, they found it easy to submit, they found it easy to complete the required templates and do activity logs and to tag, but not so much to locate their views of the assessment feedback. And again, this is probably my issue because a lot of times it was the Friday afternoon, we don't get it out there before I go away for the weekend, and didn't provide students enough feedback or enough instructions on where to click to get access to it. And so next year will be much better in terms of just training students how to access that feedback and teaching them how to access it through the atlas as well. And creating CV, only the first years had to do that, so yeah, this is an interesting question that I've included because it's 2 questions that were included at different points of the survey. Exactly the same question except for the red part, which hopefully will be big enough for you to read. But I think it would be beneficial to have all assessment tasks or items within nutrition and dietetic courses submitted and marked through PebblePad. Only 22% of people agree with that, maybe because they're so used to turn it in and it's something that they knew. However, asking the same question in relation to better evidencing their competence and employability jumped up to 54%. So I guess that's a good thing, but it highlights that we need to market why are we doing it? Why are we just using a different system for the sake of it? Is it just to make life difficult for them? Or is it that we want it all in one place? So, I might skip over the slide just for a little time. This is the qualitative data. So in terms of using PebblePad as a tool, what worked well? So by far, the fact that all assessment was in one place was the key thing that students commented on. So again, this is out of 50, so qualitative. Not everybody thought to comment on, but that was by far the benefit. Activities they liked, it was a clear way of showing everything and evidencing it and found it easy. Templates and the workbooks, they thought that provided clear expectations and the gradual completion. So you can create these, submit them at that time, and you can keep working on it until the shut-off assessment date, which students liked because they kind of, I sort of step through that in a workshop or a lecture time, and they can just keep working out week by week. Ease of use, so I thought this quote was a really good articulation of a lot of them. So once you become familiar with PebblePad, it's easy to use. So like everything, it's hard because it's a new thing, but once you're familiar with it, it's much easier. I like the adding of evidence of the benefit of linking it and adding. I thought it was easy, and again, PebblePad afterwards good with that. Ease of submission, prompting, reflecting, and learning. So again, we talked about reflection a lot in the earlier sessions and the benefit of it, just to highlight the learning. So that was a benefit. Not too many. So tag competency. So these didn't come up with too many people, but I wanted to highlight that it is a factor to talk about as well. Storage and placement documents. Now I want to go over what could be improved. So difficult to use was, commented on us in some way or another by more than half of the students. The asset folders that I talked about before, so I won't plug on that too much, and I agree, but if we use tags, then that will be fixed as well. Navigation they didn't think was intuitive or they thought it was confusing. And to a point I agree, but again, with time, it's fine. Becoming familiar with a new program is a key point. Difficulty uploading videos over 5 minutes. So as I said, the 2-minute videos worked fantastically. I walked into second semester when we had a task of the students doing a 10-minute OSFI consultation. So basically between 5 and 10 minutes, it was much more difficult. So walked into it, sold about how awesome this is and how it will change their life, about how easy it is, and then students all have all these issues with the size being too big, so they had to compress it or they had to separate it, which again was a huge deal, but because I'd oversold it, and because I hadn't provided instructions on how to compress, because I didn't know how to, or separate it, then that caused issues. So hopefully in future years, do your snapshots and be aware that maybe videos over 5 minutes aren't as easy. And maybe it was that they were all doing it at the same time as well, and not tech enough to know. So difficult submission, and these comments possibly were because with the portfolio I had lots of different submission points, which I thought was a good idea in terms of CPD submit here and then your activity log submit here. So lots of different submission points which made marking a lot easier and it sort of condensed it into little boxes. But obviously meant a lot more submission points and a lot more things could go wrong if you thought you submitted and you didn't. So I was quite flexible with my accepting of late or missing assignments through the new program, and I think students appreciated having that. Genuinely students thought they'd done it and I looked a little bit. They like the idea of ticking it off as a submitted, but I don't know if that's possible. Let's just link through these. So saving issues. I'm surprised the number of this wasn't higher based on just the anecdotal feedback that we received. So first semester we had a lot of students complaining that they, worked on this reflection, went and had lunch, came back and just keep working on it. And because they hadn't refreshed the page, when they went to do anything else or save it, it just timed out. So they lost a lot of work. So this was one of the things that PebblePad was really responsive about. So in semester 2, we had saving prompts every 2 minutes. And so then you had the 30 students complaining about these frequent saving prompts, particularly because they work like I do and have multiple tabs open, adding different things. So you may have saved the tab you're working on, but the back ones may not have been worked on for 20 minutes and it's still prompting you for those ones. So they suggested that we have automatic saving methods, which I think is a great idea. We'll see what people think about that. Training, and not too many students discussed this, and got my sets and text back yesterday with really good feedback, so really pleased about the fact that PebblePad are introducing a new tool was useful for that. But a few people commented on we need more online videos, which YouTube ones exist, and Griffith will be adding some as well, so that shouldn't be an issue for anyone going forward. Better instruction, which I agree with. Perhaps a written set of instructions would be helpful, which I agree with, which is why I provided multiple-page documents outlining, click on this, do this, upload this. But the students have to read it, so that may be limited. Better instruction through maybe when the first piece is introduced, talking them through as a group. Click on here, do this, which again I completely agree with. But you've actually got to attend the workshops to benefit from that. Student discussion forum is again another good idea. That if you introduce a new project or a new tool, having an area where students can discuss it with each other. What else could be improved with creativity? So not too many students, but thought that the CVs were a bit limited. Depends what you need it for, because ultimately I thought they were adequate for what I would have been looking for. But not as detailed as Word, I guess. Some comments around improved templates and workbooks, and found this really useful for me in terms of working out what I'm going to do next year, in terms of adding the tags ourselves or converting the activity logs to templates. And then the excessive reflection. So you can't please everybody. And I do agree actually that some of the templates were too, like the generic template that I used, had lots of different areas to reflect on, and I felt that they were just rehashing the same thing, purely to tick the box. And so next year I'm going to try and just do a one reflection that they can add as much of the detail to as possible. In saying that, the students are very good reflectors now. So we had a simulation session and they came out, they just came out and started reflecting to the clinical educators, and the clinical educators were really impressed with their reflective skills. So I think that that's a result of using PebblePad and having to reflect constantly. Access and feedback, I already talked about earlier, and the importance of that. This is just a single slide talking about the benefits of PebblePad for employability. So you can see here, again, when you focus on employability, the number went from 26 to 23 people commenting on the benefit of that to 39. So you can see the benefit of why we're using PebblePad for employability. The CPD learning blogs, again, lots of comments around the benefit for employability for reasons that I talked about earlier. Evidence and tagging, sharing with employees. So we had 5 people comment on that's beneficial, and I'll come to that in the next slide. Least beneficial for employability was the layout and navigation, which you can sort of understand a little bit, but not really into employability. But quite a few comments around how that's going to relate to the employees. What do employees want to, how are we going to show employees, what is it going to look like? And because I didn't really understand that myself, I couldn't show that to them. So maybe from the previous session, the highlight is it's their learning that they're really improving themselves, but we have to maybe figure out that space a little bit better. And starting too late delivery, not too many comments, but you know, third year they're a bit frustrated because they've done this all for 2 years and now we're asking them to do something different. So in summary, PebblePad's a really good tool and I've really enjoyed using it. I found it quite useful obviously for the evidence level, employability and for assessment submissions and marking. So in terms of just getting used to it, but it's really user friendly. You need to communicate it and market it well to students. It's a little likely if we're using this different technology. Start small, learn as you go, and keep improving. It's maintain your message.